Hello, everybody. My name is Diane Yu. I am the Technical Product Marketing Manager here at Level Access. I am delighted to be here today, joined by my fellow product marketing managers, Joey Aw and Kaylin Siddall. We're very happy also to have Willow Pinhorn, who is our engineering team lead here at Level Access, joining us today. Willow is gonna talk a little bit about the exciting stuff that we have that have been under wraps, but we're gonna unveil to you today. So yeah, for today's agenda, we've got quite a bit of a fun journey to go on with you. To start off, we're going to introduce the motivation that drive our product vision for the last, for 6 months or so, which is made up of our 3 core objectives of helping accessibility champions understand their data faster, prioritize their efforts better, and help them get past obstacles in their workflow, and how we do that implemented in each one of our feature improvements, which you're going to see today. We're going to give you a sneak preview of a new Level Access AI feature that is just on the horizon, and a little demo session of that. And then we will catch you up for those of you who are new to the platform, or those of you who have been away for a while to the platform, as to some of the recent upgrades we have made to the Level Access platform in terms of features and content. And then we will close the presentation with the Q&A session. So let me turn things over to Joey, who's going to take you through the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Diane. So to kick off today's webinar, imagine you are an accessibility champion that has just received your test results. Suddenly, you are faced with a growing amount of manual prep work even before the remediation can actually begin. As a result, this leaves little to no time for you to focus on what truly matters, which is driving action, fixing issues, things that actually make a meaningful progress on your program. But think of a world where AI could change that. Think of these features as if it was an assistant that can help you reduce or even replace that manual, repetitive work. In today's webinar, we will be sharing how champions can approach accessibility intelligently with our very new AI-powered tools to help scale your accessibility impact. So these AI features serve 3 key objectives. And through the webinar, we will be taking you through each of these objectives and the features we've released that roll up to the objectives. First is prioritize findings faster at scale. Second is accelerate learning and understanding. And last but not least, unstick issues and maintain velocity. Double-clicking into the first objective, prioritize findings faster at scale. This objective is supported by 2 features. First, we have is Common Findings. Common Findings is a feature that helps users prioritize findings at scale, whereas Digital Asset Findings enables our users to prioritize findings faster. We'll be diving into Common Findings first. I will be passing things over to our lead engineer, Willow Pinhorn, to share some insights into the technology behind Common Findings.
Thanks, Joey. Hi, everyone. In today's AI landscape, there's a few primary types of AI systems that a lot of us encounter day to day. I imagine that many of the poll results had to do with LLMs like ChatGPT or a lot of the other chat-based AI models that are embedded in a lot of various web products today. On top of that, there's a few other types of AI systems that are very common in our lives today that I think it's possible that some of us don't even notice are there anymore. Computer vision is a very interesting example, and one cool way to demonstrate computer vision is how I look on camera right now is a product of computer vision. The cutting of a background around me is computer vision. A Snapchat or Instagram filter is computer vision as well. There's many other examples. So most of us run into some kind of computer vision system on a daily basis. If you're in a Zoom call or using social media, you'll run into it a lot. Also, your iPhone and Android phone camera is using computer vision to make your images look better too. So it's kind of everywhere. Another type of AI system that we run into all the time that we're starting to become quite desensitized to, at least in my experience, are recommendation systems. Streaming services like Netflix or social media apps like TikTok use recommendation systems to predict what you might want to watch next or suggest content, products to advertise to you, etc. Every YouTube video ad is suggested to you by a recommendation system. So AI tools are pretty omnipresent throughout our world, and LLM chat-based AI systems are only the latest of a series of big innovations that have happened in the AI space in the last decade or so. I want to introduce you to a type of AI system that most folks outside of a computer science program or a software engineering degree might have never heard of, which is sort of colloquially known as semantic search, or in more math terms, known as vector search. So, vector search is an AI algorithm that we use to search large amounts of text and group different elements of text by their meaning. So we can kind of cluster text together that has a like meaning with other text. It's very useful for like AI chat models to search large databases of text to find information that's sort of similar to whatever's going on in the conversation very quickly. So semantic search is a really important underlying technology for distributing LLMs at scale. But you can also use vector search for a bunch of other things. And throughout this presentation, you'll find that we have a really interesting use case of vector search on display today that will demonstrate how even outside of the chat realm, you can use technologies like vector search to make interesting AI features. And one other thing that I want to share before we move into the new features that we have for you in this webinar is, since we're introducing some AI features to you, you should know how we approach AI, what our sort of corporate mandate is. So we follow three important tenets, and we have been following them as we've built these products. The first tenet would be we don't use customer data to train or fine-tune any of our AI models unless we have explicit consent from our users. I will say that the models that we'll be showing you today, or any feature that we're showing you today that has to do with a chat-based model, we didn't train the models at all. They are pre-trained from the industry training systems that don't use any level access data. They only receive data from level access as they're answering whatever question, but their training was done with a data set long before we ever started using them. We use those hosted models from only top-tier providers like AWS, which are governed by strict security and privacy standards. That helps us build trust that the information we do have to share with the models is being used well and disposed of according to like the security agreement that we have with them. And finally, we're building opt-out controls for all AI features so that whatever organization you're in, you can control how much AI is on your site and how your data is used with our new AI systems. So nothing is happening unless you want it to happen. And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Joey, who's going to take you through prioritize and scale.
Thank you so much, Willow. So you might be wondering, how are we using vector search to help you prioritize at scale? And most importantly, what exactly is common findings? So I wanted to start with a common use case to help you visualize when and how this feature might be valuable. So we've all likely experienced having duplicated components across your website, whether that might be buttons, footers, images, icons, and the list goes on. And it's not just on one single page, but it's repeated across multiple different pages. To address these accessibility issues, you have to run through and identify where is it repeating, and often you have to fix each instant individually one by one. Just like the example that we see here on the screen, there are 3 identical Get Started buttons on the Level Access website. It's time consuming, it's a redundant process, and you're ultimately just doing the same thing over and over again. But now imagine having a platform feature that eliminates this repetitive work. using our vector search AI technology to consolidate these duplicated findings, and it helps ultimately enable and prioritize issues in bulk. So I'm really excited to introduce common findings. Common findings helps us surface high impact accessibility gaps that groups clusters of reoccurring issues so you're able to prioritize at bulk. In addition to that, you're also able to zoom in on a level deeper and get data level filter to take precision and take action on the findings. This helps your teams focus efforts exactly on where action is needed most. Dependent on your goal, you can also filter through the different common IDs, whether that's based off of severity level, number of digital assets affected, or either pages affected. Later, we'll be going through a demo where you can see common findings in action and how we'll be leveraging these filters to help you prioritize which common ID you can focus or remediate. Last but not least, you're able to also easily view a full list of every finding. So double clicking into common IDs, you're able to look at the full list of findings that is in this grouping. Generally, champions don't have that level of technical knowledge that developers might have. So in the common ID view, you're able to easily see detailed results in normal plain language, all in one centralized findings list. So champions are able to better understand, easily understand as well, and move faster and make more informed remediation efforts. Common Findings is available for waitlist today. So if you are a enterprise customer that is excited on trying out this feature for the very first time, please email our beta@levelaccess.com to join our waitlist. Now I'll be passing things over to Kaylin to share a little bit more about how you can prioritize findings faster with digital asset findings.
Thanks so much, Joey, and hello, everybody. I'm going to attempt to, yes, take over our slides here. And that's because I have a ton of exciting stuff I want to share with you today. As Joey mentioned, I'm going to continue in our first sort of key objective here around prioritize findings at scale to tell you all about a feature we like to call digital asset findings. But while these findings are necessary for the process, aggregating findings from all these different sources can sometimes provide a number of challenges. You know, if you have developers pushing things in with the browser extension and the API, and then you're running automated scans, it's like, how do you kind of consolidate all these? Joey talked to you a little bit about how managing all these findings at scale can be difficult, especially if you're running like, 10, 50, 100 websites, 1,000 websites you're trying to consolidate issues across. What we found is that prioritization and these issues around findings also happen not only at sort of the large enterprise scale, but also at sort of the individual asset level as well. And that can make things a challenge, make prioritization a challenge. So what are some of these problems? Well, for starters, findings are often somewhat dispersed. They can come from a number of different sources from different people. So sometimes it can be kind of challenging to prioritize all these findings into a single place that has all your consolidated data. If you run a scan today and your coworker runs a scan tomorrow, you got to make sure you're using their scan because it's a bit more recent. And so sometimes that can be a little bit difficult. That kind of extends to the second thing around duplication. Auto-match findings, if you're familiar with it in the platform today, does a lot of work today to track the history of issues and try and remove a little bit of this work to track that common thread of issues. But again, if you have multiple scans that are coming from different places, sometimes that can create a little bit of redundancy that you might have to otherwise manually sort through, maybe creates a bit of confusion. So not always the most seamless experience. So it's a bit challenging sometimes to understand exactly what needs to be worked on and what issues are the latest ones that you need to focus on. And finally, findings can sometimes be difficult to action. Findings view, if you've used it before, is really, really detailed. There's a ton of information and is broken down by rule today. But if you're viewing just a specific rule or maybe a specific page report, it can sometimes be difficult to say, hey, I want to actually tackle the large amount of data I have across multiple rules really, really quickly. And so how do I do that? Well, wouldn't it be great if you could, of course, prioritize your latest findings faster with digital asset findings, all from a centralized place with deduplicated results. So that is what we're going to talk about today. And as you might have guessed, you can do that with digital asset findings. So digital asset findings, what is it? Well, it is a centralized place for all your automated findings for each of your digital assets. So every asset you have will have its own digital asset findings space. The centralized space makes it easy to prioritize all your latest findings because they're all in one place. So your scans review will still be there. Monitoring is still there if you want to go and review individual reports. But if you're trying to look for a good place to jumpstart things and you want to view everything together, that is digital asset findings. And since everything is all in one place, we've made it really easy to organize all those findings with a comprehensive set of tools that help you sort and filter and then dive deep into your deduplicated results. And then, of course, once you do find a finding you actually want to work on, or maybe a little group or set of them, we've made it really easy to promote those issues to your team through tasks. So you can easily create those tasks from the same screen, as well as dismiss them if you find things you want to remove. It is a very cool, powerful new tool to make prioritization easy. And I'm happy to say that digital asset findings is already available today in the platform. And in fact, some of you may have already used it, hopefully, which would be really cool. And so that is digital asset findings. We'll take a little bit more of a look at that later through our demo. But for now, I have even more exciting stuff that I don't want to wait. So we'll get back to that soon. So I'm going to move on to our second key objective, which is all around accelerating learning and understanding. And we're going to kick off this section with another question, although I promise it's not a poll question this time, because that is because I should say, this is kind of a big question, which is, how can I make better decisions with monitoring audits? It is sort of a question a number of you may have asked yourselves before, and it's a question we've heard before, because we get questions all the time around this of like, how can I break down my audit to better understand what's going on. I get a really big audit and it's kind of difficult to go through, or, I got my big monitor lately. How can I go through those results and try and make meaningful impact on them? And that is often because we tend to think, bigger data makes better decisions, which is true. But sometimes, sort of paradoxically, the bigger the data set, the more difficult it can sometimes be to actually understand what is going on. The more data there is, the harder it is to break it down. And so it's like, how do we kind of manage that? Like, well, monitoring is a really good example of this. Monitoring is cool because it can scan your entire site. You can scan up to 10,000 pages of your site today and generate a ton of really incredible insight. But it can then be challenging to sort through that data, really big reports, tons of page scans. So how do you actually know what changed and take action on that? Same with audits. Audits are really incredible because they're really big and comprehensive. They're really rich sources of data. But because they're so big and comprehensive, again, it can be challenging to go through that audit, break it down into prioritized lists, depending on what your goals are. You want to make sure that with the way you're prioritizing aligns with those goals. And in both of these cases, it's sort of hard to get that insight and turn that into action really, really quickly, which is what we ultimately want to help you to do. And so that is why our team has built two features we're going to talk about today that are designed to help accelerate learning with contextual, concise summaries of your data. So yes, we have two big features into this, which is really cool. One is all around monitoring and one is all around audits, as you might have guessed. So I'm going to go through each of those. Starting with monitoring, I want to introduce our new AI monitoring summaries. So this is another new AI feature we're bringing to the platform. And what it is effectively a concise AI-driven summary of your latest monitoring results and changes. It's really designed to help you analyze your monitoring results faster by highlighting key info like newly included pages or recurring issues, things like that. And it'll even help you act more swiftly by integrating recommendations, oftentimes broken down by role, which you'll see today, to try and give you an idea of what an ideal next step would be, or if you're maybe stuck, it can hopefully get the gears turning a little bit on what action you might take next. It's a really, really simple and fast way to quickly understand, what your current status is today, what changed in your last two monitors, and then give you some ideas on what to do next. So hopefully, if you're running short on time or you don't want to go through all your data today, it's a really quick way to be, hey, here's my quick brief. Now let me just go act on it right away. So really, really cool. And the second is all around AI audit summaries. So AI audit summaries, in a similar way to monitoring summaries, are tailored contextual, is a tailored contextual analysis of your audit based off one of four key goals, namely prioritization by disability impacted, risk or VPAT optimization, and the screen affected. So it highlights key findings under each category for each review, so you can focus on that tailored subset of your issues instead of having to go into your entire audit and try and figure out kind of what issues you'd want to focus on from there yourself. And what's more is it also helps you act faster by giving you quick links to automatically filtered lists. So you can just say, hey, I want to sort of break this down with AI, focus on this section, and then quickly view the filtered list of issues to then action and move over to your team. So it's really cool. And just like digital asset findings, both AI monitoring and audit summaries are both available already today in the platform. And for sure, a few of you have been using it because we've gotten some really awesome questions and feedback and ideas about how to improve it already. So it's already out there for you to use it if you were to log in today. And that brings us to our third and final objective for the quarter, which is all around unsticking issues and helping to maintain velocity. So it's always been a core tenet of our team that we always want to make the work that you do every day faster and more efficient. We ideally want you to spend, of course, as much time building accessible experiences and as little time as possible on, mundane kind of like manual little tasks just to get to the point where you're able to create those digital experiences. And so when we approach this problem of like, how do we unstick issues and maintain velocity, we realized that a lot of it boiled down to one big question, which was all around, how can I get the answers I need to move past roadblocks? Yeah, it's probably no surprise for anyone here who's worked in the space for a little while, but accessibility can be challenging. There's always, not only you're learning things, there's a ton to learn, but you're always running into new interesting scenarios. I just lowered my chair, that's funny. You're always running into new and interesting scenarios that'll raise questions about what to do. I've never seen this before. Maybe how should I tackle it? I need some ideas. We found that a lot of time, these are the types of questions that get people stuck. They're kind of in flow, they're working on an issue, they're trying to prioritize some stuff, and they run into an acronym they're unfamiliar with, they run into a thing they've never seen before, and they just need a little bit of information. And that's why we're working on ways to help you try and maintain that velocity and maintain that flow with instant answers to these really common questions. And so what better way to get answers to your questions than to just ask? And so that is why our team has been developing Ask Level AI. So as you might have guessed, Ask Level AI is your personal always-on accessibility assistant that you can chat with from within the platform at any time. It's designed to help you unstick roadblocks in your daily work with instant answers to really common accessibility and product knowledge questions. So these answers can help you stay focused on delivering more accessible experiences, avoiding the distraction of needing to like leave your workspace and go Google the answer, try and find it, or maybe reach out to one of us and your team at Level Access for an answer and wait for that. Now you can just say, hey, I just want to quickly check what this is and go forward with it from there. And it is based today on, I saw a question earlier actually in the chat about how we kind of augment some of these results. We've taken one of these underlying models and trained it on all of our proprietary content. So all of our Academy content, our product knowledge, our thought leadership pieces from the website. And so even if you want to ask like, hey, like what are, like the WK checklists, you should be able to ask it things like that as well. So Ask Level AI, I want to mention, is coming soon. So our team has been doing a ton of testing on this, as you might have imagined. We've done a ton of rounds of testing internally, and it's already live in the platform. You'll see a version of it today that our own internal teams are doing further testing on already today. And it'll be opening up to platform users like yourself pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. Very, very excited for that. And so we've introduced you to a lot of really interesting features today, from common findings to digital asset findings, our AI summaries, and Ask Level AI. So it's about time, I think, to witness a few of these cool features in action. So with that, we're going to just change over to share up a Chrome window of the platform, and I'm going to pass it over to Joey quickly to kick things off with a discussion of common findings.
Thank you so much, Kaylin. So to kick off the demo, are you an accessibility champion with an increasing amount of manual and tedious tasks to perform that's slowing you down? You're overwhelmed with either doing Excel gymnastics just to organize a never-ending list of findings, trying to figure out how you can strategically prioritize where to act on, or you're digging through endless learning content, hunting for the right answers to problems you're facing in real time. And ultimately, all that prep and organization work eats away at your day, leaving little to no time on what truly matters and tasks that drive real progress on accessibility. That's where our Level Access platform kicks in and helps users scale their accessibility impact intelligently using AI advancements. So let us show you how we're turning hours of manual efforts into moments of insights and actions. Introducing Common Findings. Common Findings was designed to help champions eliminate redundant work and remediate findings at scale with consolidated insights. On the left, under Common ID, we're able to see grouped findings with common attributes. Similar to the button example shared earlier in the presentation, our AI technology groups together reoccurring issues. As we review the list of groupings, we can see helpful details like the element, the finding title. But what's even more valuable is the additional insights provided, such as the severity level of grouping, the total number of findings, the number of affected digital assets, and even the number of pages those findings appear on. So upon clicking into pages affected, in the instant I want to achieve broader remediation coverage across my digital assets with the goal of wanting to maximize functionality, I'll prioritize by pages affected. That means that focusing on groupings with the highest number of findings spread across the most pages. In addition to that, I also want to prioritize based off of severity. So clicking into severity, this helps me filter through groupings by the severity level. As I scroll down the list, I want to prioritize the critical groups with the highest amount of pages affected, as these pose as having the highest legal risk. So double clicking into this common ID finding, let's dive deeper into this critical group. Here I'm able to have full visibility into the descriptions of the issue, remediation guidance in simple language. So champions that don't necessarily have that developer or engineering background is able to easily understand the problem and next steps. But also I'm able to get really detailed guidance under, let's say, element similarities. So developers that are actually actioning on this remediation work is able to clearly understand what the source is behind this common ID. As I also scroll down to the bottom of the list, I'm able to see a full list of all the findings under this common ID grouping. I'm able to cut through the noise and have a deep dive that these findings are located in, with also code level detail on the source of these findings and more. So as an accessibility champion, this page is extremely crucial as I can strategize, filter through what works needs to be prioritized, and also even delegate towards the right teams. Now I'll be passing things over to Kaylin to share a little bit about how digital asset findings weaves into this whole narrative.
Thanks so much, Joey. So as we mentioned in the presentation, yeah, prioritization at scale with common findings, super, super cool, really comprehensive. But what if you want to prioritize findings at the individual asset level? Let's say I'm like a product manager or someone working in marketing. I just want to do a little bit of work on a couple of my individual properties that I'm working on. So to do that, I'm going to navigate over to one of my digital assets. And there's a couple ways I could do that, but I think the most fun would be to use the brand new navigation switcher, which is also something our team introduced this quarter, to move over there. This was developed based off feedback directly from users just like yourself to hopefully make it faster and more seamless to move around the platform. And thank you to those of you who've already submitted cool feedback and ideas on how to make this even better. Our team is already working on some of that feedback, like adding a recently visited digital assets panel in here as well. So keep that feedback coming. We really want to try and improve the user experience of the platform. It's a big focus for a big aspect for a big part of the team this year. So yeah, keep that feedback coming. Very cool. But in the meantime, I'm going to jump down to an individual asset, which is my UAT environment for our Jade Bank organization. So let's say I'm in here and I'm just trying to get a little sense of some of the work our team is doing in UAT. You know, we're working on some new changes that we're going to push forward to our platform. But before we do that, I want to make sure there's no real big accessibility issues going on here. So I'm going over to the brand new findings tab within my digital asset, which is the new home for digital asset findings. I'm going to clear our filters here to show you that this is a huge list of all the findings that I have in my UAT environment right now. It's a comprehensive list across my monitors. I saw a question about that. It does include monitoring results. It includes all my individual scans. All the automated findings I need are located here today. And so this is great. This is one centralized deduplicated list of all my most recent findings, but there's 128 of them that I happen to have in here. So it's kind of a big list for me to tackle today. So I'm going to go back to my filtering options to actually narrow this back down to something a little bit more manageable. So we have 9 different filtering options available for you today across like finding title, success criteria, testing tool, and then task severity and status, which we'll be talking a little bit more about today. So I talked a little bit about how I want to make sure my team is working on some new stuff. So what I want to quickly do is make sure they're not breaking anything and effectively introducing any regression into my platform. So to do that, I'm just going to filter by critical severity first, as I'm most interested in those. And then I'm going to do the reopen status, which checks if anything has previously been fixed that is then broken again. And my list is empty. So that's actually awesome. So that means my team hasn't moved backwards. We haven't broken anything that we previously fixed, which is my #1 priority. So that means I can actually start to make some real progress fixing accessibility issues. So I'm going to change my filter then from reopen to just open. And if I wanted to, I could also filter by tasks, like linked or unlinked to a task to know what I haven't worked on, but maybe I'll come back to that in a minute. So I'm going to apply my new filter, and I see I now have 11 critical issues that are open in my property. And in fact, a couple of them already do have tasks associated with it, which is pretty cool. So just like any other finding, if I want to, I can select any finding ID here to dive directly into the finding results, the finding details, if I want to view things like the description or the all-important HTML element, which will come into play in a second. But if I don't want to do that, I can just go back to the findings view, to my filtered list, and start to take action on these right away. So as we mentioned, a really big part of what we want to do is help you actually act on these things from here as well. So you'll notice in the top right of my table, I have a dismiss findings button and a create task button. So if I select a couple of my, say, button element missing name tasks, or sorry, findings, I can go ahead and create a task right away. And just as you would in a normal process, I can directly push it to Jira or Azure or Asana or things like that. But I'm actually going to wait to do that for now, and I'm going to create the task. But I had an idea, when I was looking at that HTML element, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could add to the description of this task with a little bit more context for my team on what to do, or maybe some ideas on some recommendations. And so what I'm going to actually do is ask Little AI if it can help me with that question. So in the top right of the platform, we have a button that'll say Ask Little AI that opens up in a side panel that swipes over from the right. And it gives a little introduction, and it actually gives me three sort of suggested prompts that I might ask it. But since I was working on a button missing accessible name, I'm actually just pasting in a prompt to save you typing time. But all I did, I'm asking it, I'm like, hey, I have a button missing an accessible name in this HTML code that I grabbed from the finding. How should I go about fixing that? And I basically am trying to ask that question and to see if it can give me any recommendations. And we're going to hope that in the spirit of demos, it works perfectly. And awesome, it gave us some stuff. So it says, hey, here's a recommendation. You might add an ARIA label. There's a couple different ways you could approach it. And it even gave me some key considerations to consider as well. So it's probably something I should still double check with my team and discuss, but if I'm totally stuck, it gives me somewhere to start and an idea of what my next step might be for this particular issue. So I can then take this and add it to my task if I wanted, or share it with my team, or if I'm a developer in here, I could just try and use these insights right away. So a pretty cool way to quickly get an answer on something we're working on in our digital asset findings view. And so that brings us to the end of digital asset findings, but my work is not done today. I also wanted, while I was here, to check on our Jade Bank website, our public-facing website, and check on our latest monitoring scan to see how things are going. And so I popped over to the monitoring tab of my new Jade Bank website's asset we moved over to. And I can see that there is actually some positive change. My scan score seems to have gone up recently, and there's some positive indicators here, which I like to see. Now, I might dive into the results normally to try and understand a little bit of where this progress is coming from, celebrate the team, learn from what we did well. But I don't have a ton of time today since we're running out of time on our demo. So I'm just going to say, analyze this with AI. And what it does is take my last two monitors and compares them for me to highlight some really key insights that I might want to learn. So I can see here, it's cool. My scores actually improved from 80, almost 81 to about 83.5, which is really awesome. Gives me a breakdown of some of the key top success criteria for recurring findings I might consider. Gives me some progress highlights in this case. And it even gave me some suggested next steps, in this case, broken down by team. So it's saying, hey, if you're a developer, you might want to focus on remaining the less contrast issues, which is not a bad idea. The design team might review those same color contrast issues in combination with that team. Even my content team, it's saying, hey, why not provide some live captions, figure out a process for providing those live captions because we have a lot of those on our site. That's pretty cool. So really instantly, I didn't even have to go into my actual full monitoring pages report or anything like that. I got a really quick sense of what's happening and a few things my team might go do. So I might forward this over to them to have them start actioning. That's really cool. And then while I'm here, I actually, since I checked the public website, I might as well check the monitor of our web application, our actual banking application, see how it's doing. So I switched to the monitoring page of that digital asset, and this one actually doesn't look to be doing so well. It seems my scan score has gone down, and there's some negative indicators here, which isn't as great. So why don't I analyze this with AI to get an understanding of what's happening really quickly as well. So I see, yes, it's true. My score went down from 81.3 to just about 80, not so great. I see my total number of findings increased from 64 to 83. So I definitely gained a number of findings in this last monitor. So that's not super good that I want to focus on. So maybe I'll skip right down the suggested next steps. In this case, the AI chose not to group them by role, instead by recommendation. So it says, hey, first you should address live captions. That's actually something pretty consistent with what we saw in our live website, my content team. Same with improving color contrast, something I might want to focus on. And the last recommendation here around preventing regression, for sure, we talked about how that was really important to me in my other assets. So maybe this is an opportunity for me to switch over to digital asset findings and then filter in by the reopened issues to try and focus on where this regression came from. So a really, really seamless way to quickly get insights on my monitor to try and take action really quickly. Now, normally if I was working in here, I might then go and take some action on this, but I actually just got a ping from my team. They're wondering about my opinion on our latest evaluation we just got for our web application. So I'm actually going to pop into our latest evaluation where we get to see two actually really interesting new changes. The first is around the conformance report. So this is live today. Some of you may have seen it, but the conformance score and the conformance report gives me a really quick indication of the performance of my audit. And importantly, it also gives me ways to prioritize my audit in alignment with the ways I might want to prioritize overall as an organization. So my default one is optimized by something called a VPAT, which is an acronym that I know, but I can't quite remember. So maybe I'll just change it to something like optimizing for risk mitigation today. And I'll see how my dashboard responds. So change it and it gave me new recommendations in accordance with my new prioritization options that I might dive into. In fact, this one for non-text contrast will actually increase my score just over 3 points. So that's probably something to look into. But let's say I want to go a little bit deeper and actually break down and get a more curated list of results based off my different priorities. Well, that is where AI audit summaries comes in under the Insights tab. So AI audit summaries, as we mentioned, gives you 4 different ways to break things down. You know, what disabilities are most impacted, what screens are least accessible, how should I prioritize if I'm optimizing for risk, and how should I prioritize if I'm optimizing for that thing called a VPAT again. And it's come up twice now, so maybe I should just quickly double check. Why don't I ask Level AI, you know, what is a VPAT? Because I know it, but I can't quite remember the acronym. So I'm trying to make sure I know what it is before we dive into the results too much further. And I'm hoping it doesn't keep me on the line too long as I demo classic internet issues. Nice. Oh, of course, a voluntary product assessment template. I knew that acronym somewhere. Really important. And what's more is it gave me actually a ton of other really cool information, like what is a VPAT and why they're important, with even links to the sources that we trained it on at the bottom here. Okay, so voluntary product assessment template, VPAT, I got it. So that makes sense. So actually, I think my team is working on a VPAT right now. We're trying to get one. So why don't I dive into those results? So instantly, our AI will go through, analyze the audit, and try to give you a curated list of issues you should focus on based off that particular goal. So here I put, you know, single finding success criteria up at the top, because if I fix this, I nail off that success criteria, and that's really good for my VPAT. So I have a ton of those, and even at the bottom, I have a couple 2 and 3 finding ones. So let's just say I want to actually dive into one of these and view a filtered list. So this actually, what's cool is the AI gives me a quick link to a curated list of the issues inside of my evaluation. And so I see here, it opened in a new tab, and it actually gave me 3 findings here, none of which have tasks associated with them. So that's something I should for sure try and take a look at. And I can just dive into the results here and, of course, create tasks right away. So really quickly, AI audits, not only did conformance score, I should say, help me kind of quickly get an understanding what my evaluation was, but AI audit summaries gave me an opportunity to break down things by my different priority, my VPAT, and gave me a curated list of issues I could dive into right away. So a really, really cool breakdown. So we looked at a ton there from, again, common findings, digital asset findings, our AI, monitoring summaries and audit summaries, and even peppered in some Ask Level AI prompts in there as well, which is really cool. And that actually brings us to the end of our demo. So I'm going to switch back over here to our presentation, and I'm going to pass the baton over to Diane again to walk you through some of the other platform refinements, some of which you saw and some of which we didn't get a chance to look at today that have come this quarter.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kaylin. Awesome. I really hope you guys enjoyed our new AI features as much as I have. Those are pretty awesome. But they are, by all means, not the only changes our team has made. So let's take a look at some of the platform refinements. So the most notable addition to the Level Access platform this quarter is the inclusion of the automated remediation technology insight into the scanned results within the platform. If you're unfamiliar, ART is a rule-based engine that automatically applies accessibility fixes to live websites, implemented as a widget that can be easily embedded into web pages. So with this scan results enhancement, then users can now see exactly which rules the automated remediation tool can address. And those findings can be fixed. We'll have just a little ART icon that says auto remediation available right under the rule. So this alerts you to which issues can be handled automatically with ART. It's enabled on your site, allowing you to get a sense of what portion of the issues on your site can be automatically handled versus the type that you need to address with a little bit more effort. So this feature is now actually out for some users, and if you would like to request access to these early, you can reach out to your account team and put that request in, and we can enable that for you sooner. Now the next edition, we've created some new content for you. We released a couple of new Academy courses. The first one is exploring the fundamentals of the European Accessibility Act, where you can learn the EAA's purpose, what kind of orgs have to comply, key deadlines, exceptions, basic compliance requirement, and so on and so forth. The next two courses are related to mobile accessibility testing. For those of you who want to explore just the key functionality of our mobile testing SDK, that's the second course there, building accessible apps with the LA mobile SDK. And then for those of you that are interested in scaling and doing a more automated approach, there is the third course, which is scaling accessibility testing with the Level Access mobile SDK. This course will go over how to integrate mobile SDK into CI/CD pipelines and leverage data and reporting insights and so on. So last but not least, some smaller but just as important refinements to the platform. You guys have seen the all-new navigation switcher, which is based on the feedback that our users have given us, so please continue to do that. One thing we did is we removed the limit on the automated flow and pre-scan feature. So now you can make as many as you want without any limits. As a quick reminder, what this tool does is that it allows you to record and rerun scans on specific user flow within your digital asset. And you guys saw the conformance score that has become available for audit. Will help you get a clear idea of your audit's performance. And last but not least, we have the status column that's been updated for the design evaluation so that it can help you indicate if the finding is dismissed or still open. And the digital asset evaluation overview, which the status is now made available for all the evaluations. So that was a lot of information. So if you have been away from the platform for a little bit, or if you like a refresher on some of the information on how to use the Level Access platform, we have the Q3 platform live training live now. There will be these bi-weekly sessions that dive into the different platform tools and show you how to use them and easily integrate them into your daily workflow. This is free for all of our customers, regardless of the plan type. So if you're excited about any of those features we just launched, here's a handy little chart to show you which features you'll automatically get with us, depending on the plan that you have with us. And with that said, yeah, that would be a wrap for the planned presentation portion of our webinar. So we can go into the question and answers.
Cool. We got a number of questions. If you want, I can tackle some of the simpler ones. I think somewhat related to the demo off the top. So there was one from Allison there around where can AI audit summaries be found on the platform. I think that might have been before the demo, but hopefully you saw AI summaries can be found within your monitoring page. So there's a banner on the monitor now that just says Analyze with AI. They can also be found within each individual audit that you might have under the Insights panel. That'll help you generate it there. Those are the two primary summaries you'll see in the platform today. And then the second one I saw quickly here I wanted to address was, are the AI summaries available for pass scans? So the AI summaries are available for, in an automated sense, they're available for just monitoring, but it'll always compare your latest two monitors. You can't like necessarily go back like a month and compare like two old monitors from a month ago. It'll always compare your effectively two most recent ones. So it'll be today and then going forward, it'll always be up to date. AI audit summaries are specific to the audit. So if you have an older audit, you should be able to apply the summary there. But otherwise for automated scans, just in monitoring today and just your latest two monitors.
I have a question from Allison here. Is this grouping for common findings at the portfolio level or the digital asset level? So yes, it is available for the workspace level and digital asset level, and you can select which ones you would like to be included in common findings. Under settings on common findings, there is a flexible filtering option. So not only can you select which workspace or digital property you want shown on common findings, but you can also select the testing tool that you would like to show up on this page as well.
Cool. I did see a question that I think disappeared actually. I don't know where it went in my little list here. But I can answer. It was a question about if digital asset findings is automated only or includes automated and manual evaluation. So today, just automated findings, but it does include findings from like your monitors and then all the other sources, some of which we talked about, like automated flows, browser extension scans you push in, regular automated scans, things like that. And I guess I will say stay tuned for the future of that digital asset findings feature because the team has a lot of plans for how to enhance it. Maybe that's the little teaser I'll leave you off with there. But for today, just automated, but they're all your automated findings.
There was another question from Allison whether or not common findings links to Jira tickets via integration. Unfortunately, that's not available today. However, I will pass this feedback back to our product team to prioritize on future product roadmap stuff.
There's a question here about how is Level Access's chatbot different from ChatGPT or Gemini? I can answer that one. So the underlying technologies that power our chatbot and a bot like ChatGPT are similar, but the difference is in what data we have provided it. So if you were to ask ChatGPT or Gemini an accessibility question, ChatGPT's data set or Gemini's would be what accessibility guidelines it trained on from like a huge crawl of the internet back when it was originally trained. And it might be able to Google additional pieces of information for you. Level Access has a data set of accessibility recommendations that are at a much higher level of quality and detail than what a chatbot is quickly going to be able to find online or what ChatGPT is going to just like have in its memory banks. And then additionally, the AI features that we have provided so far on our platform, they like immediately know the context of what's going on, right? So when you're doing like an AI monitoring summary, you don't have to like go to the monitoring summary and like copy and paste a whole bunch of information and go over to ChatGPT and try to paste it in and write a prompt so it knows what it's looking at and then it'll give you an answer. Our AI is already primed with all of that. It's already like in context with you in the moment as you're doing your task. And that's the same with Ask Level. Like Ask Level already has access to metrics about like your findings and like so it's able to give you like personalized recommendations about what to do without you having to like type out this is my current state. Whereas in ChatGPT, if you wanted some recommendations from it about I'm an accessibility champion and I want to know what to do next, you would first have to type out this is all my digital assets and this is all of my findings and you'd have to tell ChatGPT like this is my current state and then it would be able to give you some kind of advice. So those are sort of the critical differences that I see.
That's awesome. Thanks. I saw, oh, of course, my list is moving here. I saw one about evaluations into single conform. So this is a good question. So the question is basically, is there a way to since AI audit summaries are audit sort of specific or at the audit level today, is there a way to group multiple audits together to use summary of those multiple audits? So really good question. So today there is not. So today it's just per audit, but the team has heard that feedback already actually, because we've heard the instance where it's like, hey, if you do a couple different user flow based audits. Do you want to view them all together since they're all done at sort of the same point in time? That makes a lot of sense. The team is gotten that feedback. They're researching it. So today it's just per audit. So if you do have multiple, you can still go into each audit, of course, and do the breakdown depending on which of the four priority sort of filters, so to speak, that make the most sense to you. And this is really good feedback. So I just wanted to acknowledge it. So thank you. So our team otherwise has gotten that. We've heard that before. So they're researching it now. So thank you for the question / feedback.
There's a
Okay.
question about, I presume it's probably about common findings. That says, does it work with a keyboard too? Double clicking is challenging without a mouse. I just want to say I was one of the front-end developers who helped build that experience. Absolutely. It does work with keyboard-only users. We maintain a very strict testing standard when it comes to making all of our user interfaces accessible. So you should be able to navigate the UI elements on the page the same way you would as any user who's primarily using a keyboard to navigate a website. You could hit spacebar or enter, for example, and that would also take you into the finding details area.
All right, we could squeeze in maybe one last question. Here's a question about, can Level Access platform analyze the source code as is, like a static scan? Yes. We do have a SDK. For those of you that are interested in performing that type of analysis and you have some type of testing framework set up, the SDK can be configured to be triggered within the testing framework, and it'll output a output object that can be then sent back to the platform where recommendations on how to fix it, what the issue is, what's the severity, screenshots, and that type of thing is available. So definitely.
Cool. Actually, just I'll try and squeeze in one other half answer as well, just since Diane mentioned availability. There's been a few questions in here just about what's available. So there's kind of we will respond to each of these individually, by the way, but as the really broad answer I can give you in the last minute, everything you saw today is available today, with the exception of common findings is on waitlist. But if you're an enterprise customer and you're interested in that, please reach out and you could have the option of using it today. And then the Ask Level AI chatbot, still undergoing testing. So if you'd like to see a demo of it, you're welcome to see a demo with a member of our team. But that is not available today. It's coming soon. Everything else that we showed is already available on the platform. So if you don't see it, do please reach out to our account management team to ask questions just to make sure everything is configured correctly. And they can continue the conversation from there. The only other exception might be the ART scan, like the ART label inside of scan results, where we've been slowly rolling that out. So you might already have that. If you don't, that's coming soon. And as Diane mentioned, if you want to get that even sooner, if you don't see it, your account management team can also help enable that for you. So that was a super fast, broad answer to a bunch of these. So, but again, we will follow up to all these questions after the webinar. Yeah, and I think that brings us to the end. So I don't know. We didn't discuss which one of us would say goodbye to you all, but since I'm chatting, I'll say, I guess, thank you so much, everybody, for coming today. Really, really appreciate it. Hopefully you saw something that got you really excited. Hopefully you saw something that will help you in your day-to-day work. And if you have any feedback, please share it with our team. Yeah, if you don't have access to the features in the platform, reach out to your team for more information about getting access. And we'll see you on the next one.
Accessibility matters. Build better for everyone.